Hi, welcome back to the She Sells Weed podcast. Your host today, my name is Mindy, Mindo Indo, and I got Jax.
You can find me at CanadaTiger_Jax 2.0 now because I lost my Instagram page that I had for 17 years. So
go follow Jax. Instagram be taking people's pages down. That's not fun.
It is not fun. Cool.
We just want to thank our sponsors for today's episode, the Delta Boys Dispensary and the Pocket Dispensary. Go check out those two amazing stores. And we have a super fun, cool guest with us today. We got Dre here, and Dre's been in the industry for a really long time. Actually, I think I met you in 2010 when you were working at Green Solutions a long time ago. We had a mutual friend. Since that time, Dre's been working for a multitude of different brands, kind of getting an understanding of different parts of the industry, and then currently works as a account representative sales for Raw Garden at the moment. Yes, so thank you for being on the podcast. We're excited to learn about your story. And, you know, that's a long time to be in the industry. So just the journey of what you've been through since starting this.
It has been a journey. It's been, you know, off and on, like about a decade I've been in this industry, and I know a lot of people. I've met so many people.
That's 15 years.
It is.
More than a decade.
I took a little bit of a break. I think I was off the cannabis for about 4 years. I did some consulting actually in between that. So let's go, like, maybe just do a timeline, right? So 2010 is when I started at Green Solutions. Was bud tender there, front desk manager, doing all this stuff. This was back in the Prop 215 days. This was when we were doing raid training for our bud tenders.
Yeah. So you've seen the whole thing transition to the commercialized market.
Absolutely. And we was there for a couple of years, and then we got shut down. The feds were going after. This is when the feds were going after the banks. That were, or like our landlords. So they were saying like, hey, like we know that you're getting money from these dispensaries and you're putting them in their banks. So you're gonna have to shut that down, or we're gonna take all your money and freeze your accounts. And so we did shut down for a long time. I ended up I was graduating college. So this was 2012. So I graduated college and my job shut down. So it was like, I took a little bit of a break, finished up my college year, and then I went back into like an office job, just a crappy office job. I hated it, but it paid the bills. And it was like, you needed to have a college degree to get this office job. So I did that. It was soul sucking. And the owner of Green Solutions, he was opening up Two Rivers. And they were kind of starting, but Two Rivers, if you guys have ever been there in Sacramento, it used to be a portable like office building. Yeah. It was like you walked into this like huge warehouse and then I had to go into this sweaty little portable office. And they wanted to kind of start ramping that up and like really opening up that account. And the owner, good friend of mine, took me out to dinner, and he's like, I'm kind of like, what's going on here? Why is he schmoozing me a little bit? It's been a while since I talked to this person. And like after a couple margaritas, he's like, all right, I have a project. I want to hire like 10 people. I need BAs. I need this. I need that. And I want to throw a really good like 420 party. Can you help me out? And I was like, well, when do we have? He's like, I want to start hiring by like Monday. This was like Saturday night. I was like, God damn it. But we'll take, you know, we'll just get this event going. So I helped kind of build that up, get 420, kind of a really big, awesome event for there. Now they always do big 420 parties there. So that was my little like break. And then to kind of still staying in cannabis. And then it was around 2016 or 2017, right when Prop 64 passed. The owner of Kurvana, another friend of mine, was like, hey, like he had actually kind of tried to get me to maybe work for Kurvana once or twice before, and I just really wasn't feeling it. I still maybe was feeling the sting of Green Solutions getting shut down.
Yeah, and that was your first sales role.
Yes.
So going from budtending to sales is also two very, very different things. Yeah.
Yep. So he told me to come. So I finally said, you know, it's legal. I'll give you health insurance. I'll give you pay time off. And then he was like, how much are you making at that office job that you hate? And I was like, oh yeah, okay. So I made the decision, went back into it. At that point, I was the only Northern California employee that they had. I was wearing all the hats. I was doing a lot of demos. I was doing some sales stuff. I was facilitating returns. Yeah. And did that for about 3 years, and it was great. Transitioned to a company called Omura, which was actually a hemp device at first. It was a device that you put these little hemp cigarette sticks in. They were cardboard tubes that had hemp in it, and then they were transitioning to putting cannabis in it.
Okay. It was like a one-hitter, right?
I'm positive I pitched this device to you, and you did not buy it. Look, they're not around anymore. I don't think they're around in the States anymore. They started themselves, what's the word I'm looking for? They kind of mimicked a product in the UK that was meant for smoking tobacco that way, kind of like dry herb tobacco vapes, and they tried to bring it over here for hemp and cannabis. So that was a very interesting experience. I went to HempCon in Las Vegas, which was nice and fun because nothing like at that point whole flowers or anything. It was nothing like that.
Yeah, that was more like a device than like a. Oh, actually, they had cannabis with it. I remember Henry's had their flower in there.
But when we went to HempCon, we were focusing only on the hemp stuff.
Yeah.
And then did Garcia Hand Picked for a long time. That was a indoor flower brand, and I have to say that was one of my favorite journeys in this.
They had that cool bus. I remember
Bertha.
that.
I was never a Garcia, never a Grateful Dead fan. I barely knew who Jerry Garcia was, but I learned all about the brand or the band and all about Jerry Garcia and like that message and
his mission.
It was so cool. Like learning about the women from that and like how they helped like sow the seeds that the men would get from their tours. Yeah. They're on tour. They're getting all these different seeds, and the women would come in and like sow those seeds. And like a lot of people believe that without the Grateful Dead, we wouldn't have a bunch of strains that we have.
That's interesting.
It's super interesting.
There's a lot of weird cultural connection to that band, like that very much intertwines to like the history of cannabis and just drug culture. And yeah, it's such a unique time. I couldn't even, there's nothing even like that nowadays where people literally follow this band. It's like a religion to them. Yeah. I mean, it's still this way,
my gosh, 100%.
Hippie.
Oh, people would come up to me like with tears in their eyes.
Yeah.
Dude. Like, no joke. They'd be like, and I'd have people sit down and tell me like there are 9 Jerry Garcia stories, and I was like, wow.
That flower brand, I will say, was one I was sad to see it go because when we learned who they were like sourcing from and stuff, it was like it was cheaper than buying it from them, and it was good. It was really good, honestly. Like the Dark Karma, that was really good. Like they had all those like awesome strains. So it was sad to see them to go. Did they go to another state or did they? Okay,
they went to the East Coast. So the Liberty, the brand that. Or like the umbrella brand, they were actually an East Coast brand. So they just kind of took them back to their home base.
Yeah.
So when they left California, I was a free agent for a minute and not for very long actually. And Raw Garden picked me up, and that I think was a really nice testament to everyone kind of knowing me in the industry. When I was interviewing with at the time the director, he's like, "Oh, I remember. He was my voice. I remember like I knew he knew me or may have." Knew me, and so we're getting ready for a video call, and he's like, "Oh, my video's not working. Can we just do it on the phone?" And I was like, "No, how is he gonna know? I want him to remember me." And as soon as we got on the call, he's like, "I remember you. Your voice sounds really familiar." And I was like, "Yes." Yeah. I know so many people, and when I was worried about that interview or kind of prepping for that interview, I was like, in my mind, I was going to tell them, just call your top buyers, call anyone in Sacramento and ask them, and they're going to say they know me, and they're going to say they like me. Yeah. So like, hire me.
I think the people like carry it, right? Because then you went through 2 different scenarios where, uncontrollably these things happen. They move, they get shut down, and that could be really scary, right? For like a lot of people, especially we had it happen before. But the fact that you know so many people, it's like your people are what carry you through everything.
Oh yeah, I mean, without those connections, I don't think that. I mean, maybe I would have, but I think with those connections, definitely secured this job that I have now. It also makes me feel like this is really a career, right? Like when I was doing that part-time stuff as a bud tender, and I remember my father like wanted to like disown me. It was like, "Oh, you can't sell weed." I was in college getting a degree. What do you mean I was going to sell pot for a living? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And having that now it's funny. We go to the family picnics, and my dad's like, "Oh, ask Dre for some weed." Like, you can't sleep. Toronto's got the CBN for you.
Yeah. What did you go to?
Oh, sorry.
I was in question. Yeah, I was going to see what you got your degree in.
Philosophy.
Oh, okay.
I love philosophy. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I changed my degree like probably 8 different times. I was in sales. I did sales at Best Buy for full-time sales at Best Buy, so I knew I was always a good salesperson. And I was like, child development and acting, like actually changed my major over to acting for a while.
Mm-hmm. I think that's why you and I get into such kind of deep conversations when we get together, because I love philosophy. Yes. I study it myself privately. I don't do it, obviously go to school for it. But yeah, I just love the idea of discussing life, basically, and all the different ways of it. So that's an interesting degree. Where did you go to school for that?
Sac State. Okay. It was really, so for me to actually do philosophy.
I love whenever somebody like says like they go to a college, every single person does whatever their stigma is,
It's such a cool one. But like, so I chose philosophy really because I wanted to graduate. I was like there for 5 years. I took 5.5 years, not quite a 6-year degree, but 5.5 years. And I was like, I need to get out of here. Like, I think at this point I was, trying to figure out what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And I couldn't figure that out. Right.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I looked at my transcripts and I had been taking a lot of philosophy classes and I were like A's and B's. I'm a C student. And it was A's and B's. And I was like, okay, I can graduate really quick and have a good graduating GPA.
Yeah.
I graduated on the dean's list.
Ooh.
I know. My dad was like, no
Dre.
way. Is that a typo? Like, so like that way. So it was like, okay, great. Now I have this degree and I don't really know what I'm going to do with it. But then I got sucked back into sales through Kurvana. And then I was like, oh yeah, but I did 5 years at Best Buy, right? And like, I know a lot of friends who worked at Best Buy, still work at Best Buy. That is a career for them. But for me, I don't think I would have found, no offense to anybody of my friends who are listening, but I wouldn't have found a ton of meaning selling TVs for the rest of my life.
Right.
I would have been good at it. I probably would have made good money at it. But then I like started to see that this route to cannabis, right? I'm like, okay, I'm selling again. I didn't know, at that point, did not think it would be a career. I think I still was looking at this as a stepping stone to find that career that dad would be proud of or whatever. And the longer and longer I just went down this journey, the more it got normalized, the better and better I was doing, the more relationships I was building, seeing the difference that I was making. And I don't think this industry is going anywhere. And I'm now making money that I could consider like career money. You know, like I've stuck with it. I've got this like stable job. I do have a really good resume about this. And my Rolodex of contacts and stuff is there. So I feel proud to say that this is my career choice. And I don't think, I will be taking any steps away from cannabis anytime soon, unless life takes me. I'm married now. We're talking about moving out of the country, things like that. But like as far as I'm concerned, like this is my career, my journey.
Well, and even with you guys potentially moving out of the States, like there's a lot of countries are opening up with cannabis, and coming from California, it kind of makes you on a different level when you go to those countries. So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to stop here in California.
Yeah,
so.
I agree.
Funny how over the years it's changed. Whereas like many people in the mainstream world now are like, wow, that's a great industry to be in.
You get that
I
job.
had a conversation. I was at the bank. They shut my account down. And so like I had to make a meeting and I was like, okay, I need all my statements and like all my stuff or whatever. And I had my computer and it had proud to work in cannabis sticker on it. And she's like, do you work in cannabis? And I was just like, yeah, I shut my account down. I was like, I own the pocket dispensary. And she was like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. And I'm like, cool story, right? But like,
Give me my
you
bank account.
literally just shut my bank account down.
She's like, she's all asking for cannabis advice. You're like, great, can I get my account back?
Yeah, but that must be so great to like be in that industry and like do that. I'm like, yeah, like it is,
And
you
so
know.
I have to sit in this chair.
Yeah. But there is, there's good and bad to everything. But the good part of the whole is why we do it, right? Like the legalization, the commercialization, and why we're still here is because there is good things that come from it, and the normalization has made it destigmatized, it's made people kind of like accept us as an industry and like as like this is something that you can do for the rest of your life and like find your passion. And if you're living your passion, then that's way more worthwhile than anything else. Like,
I mean, I remember so vividly, and I have a really bad memory. Like, I mean, it might be the weed, it might be the childhood trauma, who knows what it is, but my memory's gone, girls. But I have a very clear memory in my head of an older man. He'd come in with like, I think it was his son or his grandfather or his grandson, and he'd come in a wheelchair, and he was just like not doing well. This man had like not many more weeks to live, right?
Yeah.
And like then he just started coming in longer and longer. And I remember one day he walked in, I was like, one, this person should be dead, let alone walking from a wheelchair. And his son's like, he was going to the actual doctor. Like his doctor was like, hey, I can give you these, what was the cannabis pill then? Cannabinol.
Something like that, yeah.
They were trying with that. And the doctor was like, look, bro, you can take these pills if you want more. You just go down the street, go get a joint. Like, are you okay smoking? Like, are you okay like, doing some more? Like, because I wasn't too educated on that stuff, but this is a natural plant. Why are we going to, we don't need to go through all this stuff to get it through a pharmacy. Like, you can get it as is. And he took his doctor's advice, and like, that man had a great, like the quality of his life for the end of his life was way better than expected. And that was 100% through cannabis. And that was a moment when I was like, crap, I wish this could be my career. You know what I mean? But then I had to go pack my bags and go to college and like, but it ended up like full circle, and like those moments will stick with me. And I'm very glad that, and I feel very fortunate that I can make something so meaningful, have a lot of fun, have a lot of flexibility, and make like a decent living for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think definitely in the retail world, budtending, hearing the stories of the people, like that's the point where you kind of get some great, like this is worth it. Like you find the purpose of like what the industry is about. the people that it helps.
Yeah, that's why I kind of hate that it's like considered a recreational thing now. Is that it's not a recreational thing. Yes, you can use it recreationally, but majority of the people in this industry are here for the medical benefits of the fact that we get to help people that are suffering that way. Like you said, like that. I can't even explain to you the level of gratitude that I personally feel and the joy that I personally feel having somebody come in, you know, say some things to me and me being like, well, I know this about this and that. So like, let's have you try that and just see, you know, like this is like your own path. Like you can't, I'm not your doctor, you know, but like, let's go on this path together and see. And for their lives to just change so drastically and come back from the brink of death to be living a good quality of life. Like I can't find another industry that's like that. I feel like the medical industry is not even like that. Like I feel bad for doctors. Like doctors don't get that, you know? Like doctors get yelled at all day because they're just doing their jobs and what they're trained of, you know? But they're not getting these people that are like, oh, thank you. Thank you for helping my mom with dementia. Thank you for helping my dad with cancer. Like, thank you for like just being there, like listening to me. You know what I mean? Like, you know how many times you get those customers coming in that are just, they just want to talk to you about it. And, and you just listen. You're like, well, you try some CBD. Let's see if that helps. You know, it's like that to me is it's very rewarding. So I'm glad that we shared that together, you know?
I mean, and like educate, like ever since even when I was like a budtender forever ago, we were doing the education of it's not just indica sativa. That's actually plant type. Like we were already learning about terpenes then, you know, like the word entourage effect, I think got like really popularized kind of recently, but like that concept at least has been around since I was selling weed to people, you know, like, there's like images flash in my head of being a budtender and like sellers coming in with bags of weed, just trash bags of weed. And then like, stuff, and then sorry, it's like totally off topic, but I've just great anecdote. I feel like I was the person who somehow could have the extra like tingle in the back of your throat to tell something wasn't flushed right. Like this, I was the original SC Labs, okay? Like they were like, oh, Dre can tell, you know, because it's like weed's gonna hurt your throat no matter what, but a certain tingle is how you know it wasn't flushed right. What?
That's that weed philosophy.
Like that's how like we use like being able to educate people and like not be like, oh no, I'm the one who could like tell if it's flush or if it has certain molds on it. Like to actually like for the industry to evolve and grow. To the point where we're like, no, we have SC Labs. We can actually show you like data. We have like a lot of people like legitimizing it in that way. It has come so far, and the education part has benefited from that.
Yeah, which is why like I do think that smoking it, like you know when you're buying, it's like okay, you can smell it, you can look at it, it can look hella good, it can smell hella good, but you have to smoke it to like really understand if it's harsh, because that's a bad experience, no matter what tier of weed that you get that you're smoking. If it's harsh, it's not gonna feel good. It's
not enjoyable. That is like a number one criteria for me as a buyer, that like when it comes to flower, like I have to smoke it because I have to know, and if I don't know, then I genuinely feel bad when somebody comes into the store and they're like, oh, I smoked that and it was really harsh. I'm like, oh, that sucks. Like, because you spent money on that. And I know how that is. You don't even want to finish the joint. You're just going to bong rip it at that point. And I'm like, oh,
it's equivalent of going out and getting like a really nice box of organic berries and you didn't see the one that was like molding on the bottom. You get home and now the whole thing's molding. You're like, great, now I can eat the blueberries. Like, it's like equivalent, but worse because it's more expensive and you really wanted to get high. So, it's... that was one of my favorite parts about selling Garcia was that it was an indoor flower brand and I could go around bringing samples. And I will say, lucky me, when they did pull out of California and let us all go, it was like the week after my sample drop. So I was smoking Garcia Hand Picked like, for a minute. I was like, thanks for the signing bonus. Thanks for the parting bonus.
The closing party.
Right.
Closeout party right here.
So how was that transition into where you are now with this? You're with Raw Garden now, right? And how was that transition from like selling top shelf flower to like, because they don't sell flower at all, right?
No. Well, we aside from our joints, that was pretty new and a pretty small part of our market.
Yeah.
It was a big one. We don't have the samples. I don't get to smoke a bunch of weed with my buyers and do all that kind of stuff. So just like the day-to-day, my interactions, I don't come in with a sample. I come in like with either a menu or I have a menu link. So like that kind of like a little bit more hands-off. And I think it's maybe less of a difference between flower and like what they're selling then, but also just size, right? Raw Garden is really big. I am on a sales team of for people. We have like 3 different pods of like different sales people, and then we're all over the place. We're quite big, and we're going through a lot more product. So like just the amount of orders I'm getting, the amount of customers I have on my list, like not everybody was buying my top shelf indoor flower at Garcia Hand Picked.
Yeah.
So everybody is kind of jumping on the raw garden train though. So like I am just, it's my drive routes, my day to day is much busier. You know, my email inbox is much fuller. So that level of managing, it doesn't make me forget that I'm selling weed sometimes, but it definitely feels like you're just selling, right? I think it's mostly a lot of selling.
Well, it's nice though, because like how you were saying, like in the beginning you had to wear many hats.
Yeah.
Because that can be really hard to wear many hats, but then you get to focus on the one thing. And I think that's a benefit of a big team. It's a lot, but then you get to really just be like, okay, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then it becomes less kind of, I guess, chaotic. Because when you have to wear many hats, it can be super chaotic to like jump from one thing to the next and then have to problem solve in the moment.
Yeah. And I can focus on the sales, which is nice. What I've been doing is trying to focus a lot more on budtender trainings and stuff, doing like a lot of that to kind of make sure that I'm keeping that flow of being connected to the budtenders, being connected to the product, you know, because I was talking about a little bit earlier with you is our budtenders are so important because they are going to touch way more product than I'm ever going to touch, right? Yeah. Like the weed for me, the cases of carts and dabs that we sell at Raw Garden it's on a computer screen for me. I send it out, it goes to my customers, and then it's the budtenders or the inventory teams that are touching that, taking it out. They're the ones handing it to their customers. They're the ones getting feedback from the customers, selling it on our behalf to the customers. So be able, and also, you know, being a budtender myself, I remember that life.
You know,
I have a lot of respect for that life. So going in and I'm making sure that I'm prioritizing that, touching those customers, and it's not so much of a product education because a lot of people do know Raw Garden. We did just release a new product though. I won't do a plug or anything, but when we do release new products, that's a lot of fun. But mostly people at this point want to hear our story, and we have a massive farm, and I have a nice video that I can show people, and people get to tell me also their Raw Garden story. They're like, oh my God, I've been smoking Raw Garden since, you know, or they'll tell me I was a budtender back in 2015 and I was selling Raw Garden. I could be like, me too. You know, I remember selling Raw Garden when back in the day. They've been around forever. So that is really important to me. And I'm seeing a lot of, it brings a lot of fulfillment back to the job for me as well.
Because you get to like conversate community, you know, go into those spaces. Like you were saying, like you were saying earlier that you really love education and like what that brings. And you being in the industry for so long, you have so much knowledge. And I think that's important to recognize, like that 15 years of like understanding something comes a lot, but it's all in your brain. So getting that information out to people is a really good, important thing to do.
I think it makes it special for you, you know, that you get to connect with
it makes it personal.
People still. Yeah.
I'm not just like the salesperson that's getting the raw. I'm like the Raw Garden.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like the person who sells you Raw Garden. So, And I think that's
that probably is what makes you special, you know, being a Raw Garden, you know, account managers is that you are very much involved. I mean, you know, we sell Raw Garden at Delta Boys, and you come in, I want to say monthly or weekly. I don't know. I see you often though.
I try to do it at loose monthly, but bi-weekly, especially if you guys are like not in my backyard, but I also don't want to bug you.
Yeah. But you're very involved in it, and I appreciate that, like as a dispensary, and I know my team does too, because like they feel like they have a connection to the brand, that it's not just like in the atmosphere, you know, which I think is really important, especially for the big brands, because I feel like with the big brand thing, it's like Raw Garden, let's just be real, is probably one of the biggest brands in the state. And it's like,
and been around for the longest.
It can kind of get detached a little bit, you know? And but the industry is still small, especially for the customer. So I think it's definitely a nice relationship that you provide to everybody, you know? So I just want to tell you that, because I do appreciate that. So
thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, my team, they appreciate you, you know, like they remember you, and like the bud tending training you did with them, like they remember it, you know? So I think that's like, it's a good quality to have in an account manager, is that one that's willing to connect with everybody, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's not as easy to maintain the relationships. The dispensaries, like people think it's like, okay, the closing is getting into the store, but that's like just the beginning. You're like, this is a consistent, and that's what you want. You want to build like a really strong relationship, but it takes a certain, and it's not like even anything you could just like put into paper or anything like that, but there's some people that can do it really well, and then like, there's some people that do not.
I mean, it's really like a balance between like being consistent and like not wanting to bug people, but also like, so you guys are actually an easy account to maintain. Like the people who I've been working with a long time, like pre-Rock Garden, like we just know each other, right? We already know each other's communication styles. We know what our intentions are. We know how we run our businesses for the most part. But it's like maybe that account that I'm not in, and it's for maybe not like, let's say they're just a really small shop, right? And Rock Garden has a minimum order and things like that. But, or maybe people shut down, but they always reopen. So for me, it's like I go into the small shop or someone that's been telling me no for a legitimate reason, but that reason might stop. So like there's one or two accounts on my list that I've like never sold into, and I've been with Raw Garden, which is pretty much everyone will sell something from Raw Garden, right? Not to be like Raw Garden's everywhere, but it kind of is. And I still will go into those stores because that conversation will change. It might take 6 months, but that conversation will change, and that's how you eventually will get into that store. And I think that I've done that so long over the past decade that I've been doing wholesale. Is that's how I've like been able to get in those doors. Almost everyone in those small doors does know me at some way. They might not know the brand I'm selling, or they might not, but they've heard of me from somewhere, from someplace. So but she's not going to go away. Like whatever she's selling, we're going to see that girl. Like if it's a place I've never seen me, maybe once a month. If I know you don't want to see me, that's fine. I'm still going to drop in and leave my little passive aggressive card. I'm like, hey, can you just leave this on the buyer's desk for me? Thanks. And like a quick little text every now and then, like, hey, how you doing? Maybe a cute little GIF. And I don't care if I'm left on red 20 times in a row, but like, it's not like I'm blowing these people up by any means, but like over the past, 5 years, this person knows who I am, and maybe I'm selling a brand that actually they do want to carry. And,
that's true.
And you're still there. Consistency is key. After so many years, like you're still there doing it, but it's also,
knock knock.
Like,
yes, it is. It's right.
The truth is, like you said it, like it's things change. Like in the store, literally, it can be like 1 week is totally different, or you're looking for a new thing, or like something fell off. It's a constant churn, and you have to listen to the customers. You have to adjust and see if that works. And then
what's legislation going to say? Like what rules are going to change? How much more taxes are we going to have to pay? All kinds of things. What customers are going to have to close their doors for whatever reasons? Like or like close their brands for whatever reasons. So it's insane. It's been a wild working cannabis this long. I mean, especially like some of these like young face baby budtenders that I see, and I like have flashbacks to raid trading, and I'm like, oh, you lucky girl. Like,
oh yeah, they have no idea.
You weren't terrified every time you went to work, and I'm like, you guys don't have an armed guard.
They said like everybody that worked back then were activists essentially, because every day that you went to work, she's just like, yes,
this is where I got this shirt. I was a big Americans for Safe Access. I was off the ground running. The second I got a receipt for weed, I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And I'm all about it. And I've not left ever since, even with my like break on paper, I was still connected to this world.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that too. Like that, I have an old YouTube video on my channel of like the first purchase of going to a club, and I'm like looking at all like, and it's just like in these Mylar bags with like little white stickers on them. Remember, and, like the little medical sticker. Like it's not like what it is now. No. And I was just so juiced on that. I kept so much stuff from that time. I actually had to go through and like throw things out because I'm like, why did I?
My first tube, dude. My first tube that said green solution on it. I was like, this is the coolest thing. Merch. Now, like, who wants this? Please. We have come a long way.
Yeah, but they used to sell for like $5 a piece. Remember?
Yes. It was like, man, I'll give you one for free if you buy 5 joints.
You could be making joints at the place, at the place.
I was rolling joints.
I wasn't selling them because you had all your smalls from like the ends of the buckets and stuff.
It was me rolling and smoking it, and then I was rolling and rolling it.
I know, it's so funny. Yeah, they actually did like what they deem manufacturing now, like in the back of a dispensary. I still get people come in sometimes, and they're like, "Oh, do you guys like make these pre-rolls here?" And I'm like, "No, man, like we're just a retailer." But I always forget,
like that's illegal. What are you, a cop?
That's what I would think. I guess the same way when like people show up without an ID and they're like, come on, man. Like they really press us like, and we're like, no, man. And like they'll walk away. I'm like, was that a cop? Was that the DCC? Like, were they trying to spy on me?
Shake down.
But yeah, the nostalgia of the past, like there's definitely, what do you think? What was your favorite? Like, what's your favorite thing now? Like with the industry, like because I mean, we can always talk about like the good old days. But what's exciting for you right now in cannabis?
I mean, it being normalized, right? Like, like definitely like not having shame from like telling my dad or even strangers. Like, what are you doing for a living? I'm like, guess what I do for a living? I'll tell you. You know, like I can't tell you how many like strangers like. So like. I'm very lucky, very fortunate as an outside sales rep. My day is pretty flexible. I do these meetings. This is like work for me right now. And then sometimes before I go home to like finish my day to write my last emails, I'll stop at a bar, get a happy hour, and like talk. I love to be seen working. I love when someone asks me what I'm doing for work.
That's how I convince you to be on the show. Is that happy hour?
That sounds about right. But and somehow I'll make it about either I'll bring up the fact that there are still people in jail for cannabis, and like here I am, look at me like with my nice MacBook, and I'm like. Selling tons of weed and like there's so much injustice still. That or I'll pivot to like the endocannabinoid system. I'm like, do you know that you inside your body have an endocannabinoid system and it is a miracle? Like there's no other system in your body. This doesn't sound like a joke, but it's also educational because I'm gonna, I'm like that system does nothing but activate when you get some cannabis in you, and that system kind of touches a little bit of everything. So it's really underknown. Lesser known than it should be, I believe. And I got my little spiel down, and I can get somebody, a stranger. A lot of my friends will see this happen at like happy hour or like at a party, and they're just like, Dre, we'll be back in like 8 minutes. Yeah. Like, okay, see you later. Bring me a beer,
But whoever you're talking to is super engaged. They're like, I want to know about this every single time.
Can you watch She's talking to me? And by the time, I feel like it's a success once they're like, all right, it's an endo what system. I'm like, type it in your phone. And meanwhile, look up CBN and look up, start looking at some other things. And I feel like that, it's like my little party trick. I like doing it. I think it's very valid. And like when people are like, and then a lot of times how do I get in that industry? How'd you get that job? And I'm always like, well, do you like retail? It's budtending.
That's it.
Do you want to sit at a store for a few hours and talk about one brand over and over and over again? Brand ambassadoring. But I'm like, but the fun stuff is the science. Yeah. And the fun stuff.
No, I always tell people to get in with the budtending too. Like the spitting off on conversations. It's also really funny how your family, who maybe was like a little hush hush about it, now is like, hey, so I've got a friend. Like, do you mind talking to them? Like,
it's only my dad wasn't smoking weed, right? Yeah. He just didn't want me to be doing it as a job. He's like, when I was a teenager, I was 18 and he thought, because he was smoking weed was like a thing, and he was like, I don't want you to be like a stoner, but if you want to smoke weed, whatever, I guess. Like, so he made me do this thing where for 30 days I had to stay clean, and he drug tested me. And a bunch of my friends were sitting downstairs waiting for me to be finished with this task. And my dad's like, cool, what are you guys gonna do? And I was like, we have like 4 blunts rolled up. I haven't smoked in 30 days, Dad. What are you doing after I leave? I bet you're smoking too. Like, this was a stressful situation. Now we've come so far. I actually buy I bring home like gummies and stuff for my dad. Like, I'm like, I don't know, what's the order? And I'm happy to do it.
What kind of gummies you buying now?
CBN.
Oh, he's a big CBN guy.
I keep sleep, a lot of CBD stuff too, a lot of pain.
Yeah.
But I get my little mix, and I always try to just a good old like laughy time good gummy. Yeah. Just, I really like those Lost Farm gummies. They're I love the texture. It tastes like a Starburst.
The chews. Yeah. Those are good. Yeah. I always tell people they're like a Starburst, but some people don't like them. Some people don't like the Camino little gummies. Have you those ones like they're too soft? People are like, I don't like the texture.
Really?
Like they're like too soft.
That's funny. My husband just brought home 10 of those Caminos, and he loves them. Yeah. I like the Plus gummies a lot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I always forget about them. They're like more of like a homemade looking gummy with that little square kind of sugar. Yeah.
Popped out of the thing.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah. They were like one of the first companies to like do like a Pride thing back in the day.
Sure. They do a lot of marketing.
Yeah. They're one of the older brands for sure. But yeah, so, well, let's see what kind of other questions we got for you, Dre. So we smoke weed and then I like lose my train of thought. So I gave myself notes today so I don't sit here going, a bunch. What do you think is the biggest challenge, or breakthrough as a woman in cannabis sales?
So like, here's the thing. I have had so many amazing women bosses.
Yeah.
I think that women have a special ability for like relationship building, right? I think we can be disarming. We can be very knowledgeable. I mean, obviously anyone can be very knowledgeable, but like to be able to come in and like, I think I don't want to like go too much into like male theory here or anything like that, but like if a woman coming in saying like, I might know a lot that I want to share with you might not sound like, hey, I'm trying to teach you something, you know?
Yeah.
Like can I talk, or like Rock Garden, right? Like I've had some buyers that didn't either like did a bad experience for whatever reason with Raw Garden before I came around, and I had to maybe win back some accounts, but not being like just like, hey, let me hear it. But this person's already heard from Raw Garden multiple times, right? So now I like disarm and come in and be gentle, and then like definitely let this person talk to me and hear them, and then also come at them with something new and have them be prepared and open to hear that. So I think there's a lot of like, there's a reason why women are good salespeople in general. When it comes to the cannabis industry, it still is super male dominated, right?
Yeah.
Like all the businesses are owned by men. Like all of my bosses have been men. I think there's a reason why women are making more of like a face now. You're seeing more sales reps, a lot more like women. Like we do see more owners than women. We do see more like it's bleeding out more. And I think that's kind of why. And also, let's be real, like the cannabis and being a plant and women and the nurturing of it, like it just seems a bit simple. That might be leftover speak from when I was working at Garcia Hand Picked. We got real like hippie about the plant.
Yeah.
But
It is a female plant.
it is, it's like it's a symbiotic. It makes sense that women should be connected to this, and that we would be successful at it.
I know a lot of old growers that they're like, my wife like has a different relationship with the plants than I do. So I think there is like a feminine chemistry that makes ladies have a deeper connection to the plant than men do, for sure.
Yeah, and I just think that we need more women like Mindy and you and myself, and like people that are just like being really good at this job, and women that are really good at this job, and growing that and showing women that you can be a buyer. You can be as knowledgeable, and you can do the tough
jobs.
dabs. I remember I used to take dabs and like do the thing. I remember like, oh, do you want me to heat that up for you? Like, I can handle a torch, buddy. What?
I can take my own dab. Yeah.
Let me put my skirt down and then do your dab. Like
it's true. Well, you see it more too when we go out. Like, there's so many more ladies. Like, they have their own rig setups and like they have their own joint rolling. Like, they're not asking their husbands to roll joints. Like, ladies are definitely shining.
Oh my god, I buy my husband. I pick his bongs for him. I'm like, oh, like when we first got together, I had this bad bong. I was like, I'm not gonna smoke out of that. You can take one of mine. It's much better. He loves it. He still uses that bong to this day. We have our own bongs.
Oh god! Wow, you're like, no, this is
dude. He likes
his and hers.
He is a monster. He will suck the weed through.
He's a snapper. I won't do that either. Like, it's so dirty.
When he uses my bong, I'm like, that. Did you?
yeah, you can tell. Yeah, it makes the water hecka nasty.
Yes.
It's all green and like ashy. It's not. And then you're like inhaling that. It's just
not
no.
fun.
It's
and
gross.
my bong's got percolators and stuff.
Yeah,
a good one.
You're like, no ash going in there.
Do you have a certain bong company that you use? Or?
Yes.
Oh, she said yes.
I actually have a tattoo of it. So and it's random. Grav. I really like the Grav bongs.
No, they're great.
Yeah, I've got their like big saucer, like genie in a bottle kind of one that they've got. And at first, so I was like, I hadn't been smoking bongs for a while. I was like smoking joints a lot, like in the house. I was like just a chronic joint smoker, and that's when I was working for Garcia Hand Picked when it was like unlimited, and now it's not. So now I'm gonna go back to my roots, and I'm gonna do a bong again. And the bong I had wasn't great, and so I like was on the hunt, the journey for one, and then I can't remember who it was or where I was, but they were like, no, this one was actually kind of cool. And it was like on sale, and I was like, oh, Pure Aloha, I think is what we got it maybe. And it was fine. It was like pretty cheap. I think it was like, I can't remember, but it was on sale. It was like their clearance or something. And I got it home and I was like, this thing rips. I love this thing. And I thought it was gonna be really hard to clean because it's kind of intricate. It's actually super great. It's like easy to clean. It's like nice and thick glass. And then I wanted a car bong, so I got a small, the little tiny ones like this big. It was like a little bubbler guy, and I love it. And then I won some 420. This is such a rambling story, but I won a 420 tattoo contest.
Oh, okay.
My friend Maddie Smith, she's great. She does a lot of my work. I won some tattoo for 420, and she was like, you can either pick the flash for the 420 that I put up for the contest, or since I like you, do you want to pick something different? I was like, yeah, you want to tattoo like an actual bong on me? And she goes, yeah, do you have like a picture of one? Or and I was like, I'm like sitting in my car, and I was like, yeah. So like now I have this picture of this ground bong on my
Your
arm.
little carbon tattoo. That's
We'll
cute.
get a picture for everybody so you can see it. I just noticed this sunflower knife that you have on the top of your. No, over here, up here. This one. She's like doesn't know her own tattoo. Which knife?
That could be a whole nother.
But no, I like the
podcast
sunflower
episode.
knife. It's cool.
Tattoos.
Yeah, I love it. Those are awesome. Yeah, we'll have to get some shots so everybody can see your sweet bong tattoo. But yeah, no, Grab's a great company. I sell them here at Delta Boys, and it's a quality glass. It's very affordable. They also do that gravity bong. Have you ever seen the gravity bong? Yeah.
Actually, Pure Aloha said that she would order me one.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you want to talk offline about.
I have one downstairs if
Can
you
I
want
buy
it.
it from you?
Yeah,
Or
of
like
course.
you guys-
Yeah, Grav, if you're
course.
listening, sponsor our podcast.
Yeah, hey, Grav, send me a bong.
Yeah. I'll send him this clip. I'll be like, see? Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, Roar was really big, a
Yeah.
big bong
I like
company back.
Roar,
Yeah.
actually, that was-
Roar
So
was really big.
just like the tall tube one, right?
Yeah.
Like, do you guys do they?
They do the
have, like,
beaker. I think they also do a beaker.
They do a
style.
beaker one. Okay,
Yeah. But no, Grab does all sorts of weird, like the pocket bongs and stuff.
They're all
and,
like weird.
Yeah.
There's one that looks like kind of like it's used for something a little harder than meth, or it's harder than cannabis.
Remember the
There's,
zongs?
like one that looks like kind of like a meth pipe. I'm like, what is that? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
The zongs were also really fun
Very
back
hard
in
to
the day.
clean, very
yeah,
hard. Yep.
yeah. You have to like, dip it and let it run back down.
There's
Yeah,
always that corner. I remember
Yeah.
selling zongs when they first came out, like when they were first a thing.
they were a thing. People were like, "Whoa, the glass is
Dude.
bent."
I have a bong or a zong. I'm like,
Yeah, I got one of my bud vases just because it was super cute.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah.
so is it glass on glass?
The one I have is.
Okay,
I don't know.
good.
A lot of them are different.
Yeah.
So like the one I have is like a glass, and then it's a glass piece and everything. And then they do have like ceramic ones. They have different
Got it.
materials that they use.
Alright.
So I'm not sure for everyone. But,
Ceramic's cool.
but they look really pretty.
They are
Yeah.
so
So
pretty.
it's
I follow them. Yeah, I look at
Yeah.
them. I'm tempted. This might not help.
yeah.
And I'm like, damn it, Mindy, I bought another bong.
No,
Yeah.
I can't smoke bongs anymore. They hurt my chest way too much. I can't take fat dabs anymore. It's like I think I ruined myself from all the years of like doing all that big stuff.
So I remember when I was in high school and I was they had swim class, they had like lifeguard classes, and I
Yeah.
was swimming every single day. I could take the fattest bong rips because your lungs are so exercised. I was like, I was like, gravity bong, yes.
Yeah.
I cannot do a
Dude,
gravity
oh
bong.
my God,
no
dude.
way.
Yeah.
At this moment in my life, like
Yeah.
that would be way too much.
That's so
But
funny.
yeah, you
bongs.
gotta swim. How summer's coming up. I gotta get that lung.
Yeah, get the lung capacity
Yeah,
up.
reason, I've got one last weekend. I've got one of those student glasses.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Little tip though, for me it was the same price, and I think they're actually like similar priced. Don't get the small one.
No,
I got it because I was like, oh, it's cute. And I was like, a little travel case, and I can like bring it around.
Have you seen the thing that you can mount it to? It's too much. It's too much.
For the house, it's cute. And, like,
Yeah,
I,
it's
like,
totally
I got it for
great.
wholesale. Like one of my buyers like bought too many. And he's
Yeah.
like, dude, like if
Please.
you could help me out. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't really need one, but let's get the small one. Waste. It doesn't give you the marijuana smoke.
Oh, because it's so little.
It's so little that you're like
Yeah.
constantly just like trying to like get it
Yeah.
in. It's not good.
I find that even with the big one though, because we have the big one here at the store, that we have to spin it a lot too. Like, I guess I don't know. Maybe it's like 10 seconds. Maybe it's a little bit.
You like really
better.
don't get much time. Like you don't
It's
get
just
like, you
like-
don't really get to sit there and sit.
It's just
you
like
really have
little
to
puffs.
be like, okay, that's real time.
Yeah, it's definitely not the old school gravity bong where it's just like the one from Grab that we
Yeah.
have. That one like literally like just shoots like you're just like yeah, just full of smoke.
See, that's
Full
the
of
point,
smoke.
right? You
Yeah.
just, like, push it into your lungs. You're like, all right, we're gonna do this.
Did you guys? I recently had a memory about this, but I don't know. And a lot of people didn't do it. But you guys ever heard of the hookah Christmas bowls, where you take the hookah tobacco and mix it
Yes.
with the hash and like
Yeah.
smoke that? You can't. They removed they made, I guess, the hookah tobacco illegal. But I was like, man, I really want to smoke one of those.
Wait,
Oh, because it's
hookah-
flavored?
Yeah,
No more
'cause-
hookahs?
Yeah.
What? And like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
sure there's some stores that are still gonna sell that, or like there gotta be ways to make it.
I don't know. Well, because it's different kind of tobacco. It's like chopped really thin or
It's- yeah,
thick.
and
It's
it's, like, all
different.
gooey.
And yeah, because they mix
Yeah.
it with like the fruit paste or whatever.
Yeah, but we
I
need
don't
some
know.
fruit, right?
There's a recipe
Maybe,
online.
maybe we could
Dre's
just
like,
are we going to DIY hookah tobacco
you
now?
can't let this go.
I'm a problem solver. Okay.
Get nostalgia, yeah.
Like, don't worry. Don't worry. We'll be
You
able to
want
find
the
this.
Jack?
It's like walk on the dark web. I'll find it.
I got some XRP I can send you if you can find it on the dark web.
That place is scary to me.
Yeah,
I will never.
no.
I would never.
It is scary. Off topic of weed, but yeah, you have to get a proxy browser, which is like a browser that's not connected to any company. Like it's a free range browser, and that's how you get onto it. But yeah, it was just crazy. Before the guy got arrested, that's when I had checked it out. So this was like 15 years ago. But yeah, I mean, like really, like anything you wanted was on there. Like
it's
anything.
good to. I like to be aware of things, right? Like you can't just be like, oh yeah, like everything is super cool in our society, and like the streets are this. Like no, you have to know like what's going on. You have to be wise. But you also know that like there are things not to be messed with, and like there's places like to not go. But not everybody's like that.
I just like to open the door and have a peek. Like, like, that's my vibe, you know.
Okay,
Oh, all right.
behaving in here. Okay.
Interesting. But no, there's a whole underground seedy world to the world, you know. But yeah, no, we try to stay in the light and the positive. I think that's why we like working in weed. It's a very health driven, like positive space to be in, especially if you're a woman. You know, like even though it's male dominated, I feel like yes, there are certain guys that maybe are not as supportive, but I think a lot of the men in the industry are very supportive of women.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I don't think that I've come across like yes, it is so. I definitely agree with you. I mean, gosh, my like the best boss I've ever had was a guy. And, and he was just really good at selling cannabis. He worked at Plus for a while, and it works at Garcia Hand Picked. And yeah, I think like by no means do I think that that's like. It's a bad thing in the way that of equity, right? Yeah. But cannabis does seem to draw mostly good people.
Yeah.
I think we've all had an experience where that wasn't true.
Yeah.
Definitely. But for the most part, it seems like cannabis does draw on the right people. Or at least I've been fortunate enough, or maybe it's the energy I put out, right? And I make sure that I'm not kind of like being around bad actors, or I don't really like to, it's not, I'm not drawn to that myself. So maybe that's why I don't see it as much. But I definitely feel like there's a lot of good in this industry.
Yeah. I agree.
And then there's struggle when it comes to certain things like getting financing for businesses. So, like you said, like the equity, it's like to get, and it used to be different. It used to be during Prop 215, a lot more women owners. It was more in balance, and then it went down, and you're like, seeing people like still there's still new people coming in, so everything changes really easily. So it's really difficult in terms of like, getting an investment for your businesses, like where the money is concerned, where the ownership is concerned, but the people, on the ground and stuff. Like I've met a lot of very supportive males and a lot of people that like want to help.
I agree.
Do whatever you're doing.
Yeah, try to help uplift. Yeah. They see it. They see that we're trying and we need the help, and and
that we're good at it.
Yeah, we are very good at it. I know so many men that like without the certain ladies they have on their team, like, and they all open say it. So, well, I think this is a good moment for us to take a quick break. So we're gonna take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right. We're going to take a quick moment to shout out our amazing sponsors who help us keep the show rolling. Big thank you to Delta Boys Dispensary and Smoking Lounge, located at 66 Main Street, Ileton, California. And the Pocket Dispensary, holding it down at 1195 Florin Road, Sacramento, California. Both spots are open 7 days a week, serving up the top tier products, unbeatable prices, and that next level customer service. Plus, you're always going to see those friendly faces that always make you feel right at home. Now let's get back to the show. So we're back. Thank you for that break really quick. We all, need a break every once in a while. So looking back on your journey, what is your proudest moment currently to date? Or maybe two favorite moments?
So let's see, like something I've always like really proud of was that 420 party that I put together for Two Rivers. It was not an easy task, right? So I had like 4 days maybe, or if he'd give me not enough time to do basically endless interviews. I had to like small things were sprung on me, like, oh, we have no porta potties. the band shows up. There's no shade for the sand, or no shade for the band, and just kind of having to like be really. It was like I think a turning moment for me.
Yeah.
Of like how hard of a worker I can really be.
Yeah.
I mean, like really little to no sleep. I was definitely overstressed, and I think I was like kind of doubting myself a little bit. But like there was a moment where I was like wearing these like, really cute outfit on. I was wearing these like little small heeled booties and like my Huff weed socks, you know. And I remember
popular.
like this. I like moved a couple sandbags around or something, and I was like dead of heat and like moving like heavy sandbags around and like kind of like caught some people like looking at me like, oh, this little girl's like hustling, you know. And I was like, and it ended up being a really good event. And I think some of those people that I hired like stuck around for a really long time. And the owner was really happy with me. And I think it was like, okay, like I can make some stuff work. I can problem solve. I can do stuff on the fly. I can, and I can do it kind of well. And so I think it really made me excited to get back into cannabis in 2016 or 17 or whatever it was that got drawn back in. And then now I would say like where I'm at now is it's like such a breath of fresh air. And I think this is coming from just as a woman who kind of was a little lost, right? Like I was like, I had a lot of opportunities, right? I was at a great job at Best Buy. I was able to go to work full time. My family, you know, supported me somewhat through that. And having, you know, that all in front of me, like, and then still kind of having like lack of options that excited me. And that made me feel secure. Now I am both of those things. I'm secure. I'm excited. I'm proud of what I do. I think that's recognized, which is also, I think a lot of people don't, sometimes that's like missed in like, in how much we value what we do, whether it be our jobs or ever being recognized for it. And I think that's good. And I get to have great, meaningful conversations with buyers, with people that I know, with women, with younger people, you know, like talking to people. I'm like, man, like, I don't even want to think about how old you were when I was selling weed, when I was behind the counter like you. But, you know, and then like, multiple times a week, if not a day, I get to like be like, wow, I get to sell weed. I get to change people's lives. I get to talk about what I think is important to me. I get to make decent money. I get to like, I'm an outside sales rep, so that's not necessarily cannabis specific, but I get to, you know, plan who I want to see that week and kind of like manage my own business that way. And then I also get to like have a bit of freedom, right? If my cat needs to go to the vet on a Wednesday at 3 p.m., I can work that into my schedule. You know, I can work a lot more. I can work earlier in the day. I can make sure I don't schedule a meeting on that time. You know, like I used to work in an office where it was like, you're going to take some time off to take your cat to the vet. You know, like that.
I like how you really understood and knew what you liked and what you didn't like. Because there's many different ways to live in this world, and it's like understanding like who you are, your brain, how it operates, because you're like, okay, like you don't know if you're going to be a good problem solver until you put yourself in a situation where you're like, okay, press to the
sure
limit. You're like, all right, I fucking got this, you know, and you just got to try it out and you got to do it. But it's good to, you know, live by your own rules. Like this is what I feel is right for my life, and like this is what I'm going to do.
I feel so fortunate to have that, and cannabis has given me a lot of opportunity to do that, you know, whether it be through doing that 420 party or hiring a rich people. I never hired anybody at that point. Right now, I've never been on a podcast before, you know, like all these things I've just had an opportunity that I've never done before. And I had an opportunity to just do it. And like,
and you took it
9.9% of the time I did it. I would just do it. And you know, 8.5 times out of that, I was successful. 8 times out of that, I was successful. But like, it's like, I'm pretty cool. I'm pretty competent and pretty able. And that's, people tend to like me, and that feels good. I'm not going to I'm not shy enough to admit that I like that people like me. And I like that I get to see a lot of people. And, I have a platform to talk, you know, whether it be talk about the brand or talk about the cannabis industry and like what I do for a living, you know, or talk about the science of it to my family, you know, all of that's really cool.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, I got some more questions for you. I know, right? This is why I've got my cheat sheet today. Let's see here. Do you feel like brands are taking enough responsibility or action around social equity, or what do they need to do more of?
You know, I feel like I'm definitely not going to be able to like paint a full picture on that, right? But from what I've seen, like there's a lot of good equity. There's a lot of like awareness being shared about equity. I actually just learned from your guys' podcast. You guys had a guest on here talking about the equity program and how like you weren't allowed to use your own money, or sorry, you were only allowed to use your own money, right? Like you weren't allowed to. Like, correct if I'm wrong, but you like weren't able to get outside investment if you had an equity license. Is this correct?
You have to keep it a certain percentage of equity, and so like for me, I'm locked into 10 years. At 51 or like 51 or over. For core owned, equity owned, but you never know what the industry is going to happen. Like we get federally legal, like there's like things that could happen and it could be a not good situation. And you have to always think of all the different things, like the risks involved. And it's like, you like to think it's stable, but it's like not really.
Of course. So I was,
you never know what's going to happen. So there's just different things, rules, right? Red tapes that come from owning an equity license also.
So I would say like things like that, right? Like first of all, what we can do is like talk about it more. Like I learned something from your podcast about that. And now like I'm just now like just talking. I asked a question, right? I'm like, is it correct what I heard? And like learned about that. And so I can be, it's like a little bit of the sound bite, right? And I think that is just what we could all kind of keep doing is bring that to the forefront. You know, we can highlight people like Raw Garden. Like it's not necessarily about women, but like we highlight our farmers a lot, and I think that that's really important. Sometimes people forget that, like you know, that it's people that are doing this. You know what I mean?
And you know what I was really impressed with Raw Garden? I know we're not, you know, this is a little side topic, but the thing that I brought to you about the dude that cleans up the skate parks in SoCal and how they sponsor him with like the money and tools to go and do that. Like, I think that's a really good community way that cannabis is sharing equity with people to like help the community be better, is like things like that. Cause that's really cool what that guy does, you know,
100%.
and it benefits the community, and it's nice to see a cannabis brand, you know, give back to the community that way
and to be mindful of that. You know, and so I think that's like the first thing that a lot of us are doing. You know, we're using that platform, we're using the interest of cannabis to kind of like if somebody asks me what do you do for a living, and like I said, like I'll tell them what I do, but I always will bring up one of two things, and it's like people are either still in jail or about the endocannabinoid system. Because if I have your ear and you want to ask me about something that I like, sure, I sell weed, dude. Like, yeah, like you sell whatever medical supplies or whatever somebody might sell, but let's talk about like the real thing, or what I want to use your ear for, what I want to educate you on, or tell you something new.
Because it could like potentially add to their lives. Or
it does, and I think I argue. I feel like most of the time I walk away from a conversation and someone's like, "Thank you so much. I'm going to look that up," and I'm like, "Hell yeah, brother, do that." I'm good. I'm gonna skip that joint.
That was what you picked out.
Well, maybe I'll hit on the next rotation. Just give me a second. And then speak about what's important to you, and women in cannabis, and if that's something that you guys are highlighting, I think that's beautiful, and I think that's what should be done, and just more of it. And we need to remember that we do have that interest.
I agree. The conversations, just always having them all the time is super important for cannabis. I think that's what's really shifted a lot of things, is that people like you and I and Mindy, when we go around our families that are not in cannabis, we kind of hold this standard of like really what cannabis is, to try to change that opinion. And I think that does make a big difference, is like people see it's like, it's not this nasty thing that some people make it out to be. It's a really beautiful thing, and it's always working towards trying to be better for the people, and I think that's really special. I don't know any other industry that really is working for like the people and trying to include everybody at every level, and it's like really
making
really
a community
very important.
I agree.
I just think from like my perspective is the thing that a big brand can do to like help social equity is just to be compliant and do the right thing. Because if you're cutting corners, if you're making money doing other things, and then you're putting your prices hella low, like how do you compete against that? We're like looked at so heavily, and they can just rip everything out from under us. That it's like you have to always just stay on top of your shit. And there's big brands that don't, and they're pretty much trying to drive the small brands out. And very unethical ways. Just like be ethical brands. Do the right thing. Work with good people.
Yeah. It's like the testing that Raw Garden's doing. They're doing that extra testing level. What's it called?
So we do like the eco testing.
Yeah. It's like a second, like testing is what I understand, right?
Yeah,
like to try to make sure that customers know it's
I think
clean.
part of it's also trying to like make the norms of what testing is and kind of raise that standard. And we also do a lot of like in-house testing before we do stuff, right? Like a little fun thing that I like to tell people on our in our trainings is that Raw Garden keeps bees on the farm.
Yeah.
And the reason why they do that is like, great, like California loves its bees, but also it ensures and it requires our neighboring farms, they have to tell us like what they're going to spray and when they're going to spray within a certain amount of time. And that gives us the opportunity to add whatever that chemical might be onto our list of things to test. And we do so much testing at different levels of the extraction and growing process that we pretty much won't have any surprises when it goes to something like Steep Hill or SC Lab. So just that responsibility there. But also just like that, thinking about it on the front end. Let's put bees in. Let's know what we are exposed to.
Yeah.
Because
if the bees aren't healthy, then there's bad stuff in the air.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, but it requires them by law to tell us what they're going to do because the bees are protected.
I see.
Yeah, because California loves its bees.
Interesting. Well, that is really important. I mean, consumer safety is a very important responsibility when you are the producers of it. I think a lot of people are a little disconnected from the farm with cannabis. Unfortunately,
that's fair to say. I would.
I think that it's important though for them to, like, if you are a big producer of flower, to be ethical about what you're doing with it and how it's maybe leaving your facility and where it's going and that things are being, above board. Like, Mindy was saying, like the compliance of like,
and holding someone accountable, holding our partners accountable as well.
Yeah. Because we can always champion. All growers always get championed for the work that they do, but I think sometimes like that gets overlooked because of like these little minor details. Because like it's super important to me because I don't want anybody to ever get sick from something that is on something, and that's always the fear.
I mean, so like I'm wearing Americans for Safe Access shirt right now, and Americans for Safe Access, like one of their biggest pillars, right, is safe access. And that safe access doesn't necessarily include like a well-lit building with a nice bud tender and a security guard. Yes, it does mean that, but it also means safe plant, like access to a safe product. And I think to do something with a flower with your crop or whatever, or for someone to take raw materials, right, and to do something that causes it to no longer be safe is like one of the worst things someone could do.
I agree. It's pretty backwards, to think it
taints our industry. It taints the sanctity of it. It takes away from what we're trying to do and what we were built on. And like, that irritates me. Like I don't take kindly to that.
I don't either. I was looking up on my phone here because I just remembered the DCC actually just recently put out a thing that they're going to open public comment to talk about changing the way that the testing is done for the pesticides and stuff. Yeah, because I think the state's even recognizing that like it needs to be stricter on that. And I'm a big believer in it. For me, it's like there's so many ways to grow plants without using sprays, like including organic sprays, because those organic sprays can retain on the leaves and get into the resins, and you probably shouldn't be smoking any of that stuff either.
It hasn't been tested for. It might be tested for eating. Yeah, but it has not been tested for inhaling it.
Correct. I don't want to smoke neem oil. I personally, I don't think that's.
I don't even want to smell neem oil.
It does have a particular smell to it.
That's why when the vapes first came out, like vapes were, it's an important thing to have be super clean because there was all the additives, like still, there's a lot of
well, I remember VapeGate. Remember VapeGate when people were putting vitamin E oil? So it was vitamin E oil, but it was not in any regulated product. I didn't want to say that. It was because it was something that was tested for.
It was black market,
all black market
traditional stuff.
But it hit our market really hard. I was working at Kurvana at that time, and like. Yeah, like it was VapeGate, dude. We had something like on my little demo table. I had a thing that like explained what it was, what was happening, and it was nothing. Like it was none of our product. And the people, just because I was acknowledging it, they were like, okay, maybe I'm less suspicious, but like they were still quite suspicious. But
that's how we compete against that unregulated market. Is like we provide safe medicine for people and safe products for people, whereas like you don't know what you're getting when you're going on the street and like whatever they could be putting all that stuff in.
Who knows?
And so like the brands and the people in this industry have have to do it right and do it well, or else
we have a responsibility.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah, I agree. So what's more can you tell us about safe access? Because you've mentioned them twice, so you love them, obviously.
I know.
And
So you're putting me on the spot because I wish I could tell you more.
Okay.
Like when I was young, it was like it was the activist group that I had heard of, right? And it was just like that idea of safe access was very important to me. Like it clicked with me really early of why this was, because so I was 18. I had to go and get my medical card. I planned it for when I was moving. I grew up in San Mateo. I was going to San Francisco to this like really underground shop. I wish I remember the name of it. I'm sure some listeners are going to remember. It was like an underground. You went to a doctor and then you went to this underground shop that had weed, and it was like super. They had hookahs. And like it was, I had to bring like paperwork of like, because I was diagnosed with ADHD. Surprise, woman in her mid 30s. Had ADHD. So I had to bring that medical paperwork, and it wasn't like today. If you were 18, you could just get it. Now 21, you could just get it. But to be at least 18, you had to go see a proper doctor that would do this in like the dark of the night, kind of. So I came to Sacramento. And I was like, one of the first things I did. I didn't have a car yet or anything. I found the bus route to the first dispensary I could find, and to me, once I think it was like this shirt was hanging. It was at Green Solutions. It was the first place I went to buy weed. And they eventually just asked me like, hey, you seem kind of cool. You want to work here? So that's why I got into the weed, to be honest.
He was like, I'm so excited to be here. Like the most excited.
So weed with y'all.
You don't have to leave. Like, you just come here every day.
Pay you to do this.
Stay here. Really?
Get out. What? I go by Dre now. Like, I'm no longer Adriana. But like, so it was like really cool. And I was like, this is just like, I was just so excited about it, but it was all kind of recreational, right? I was like, oh, I'm going to get high. But I remember was exposed to American for Safe Access. A woman that I was working with, one of the first women I worked with, she went by Eva Sativa.
Ooh,
and she did a lot of education. She taught me how to do my first dabs. She kind of took me under her wing a little bit. And she was she exposed me to like American for Safe Access. I think I'd maybe already bought the shirt because it looked really cool and I kind of knew a little bit about it, but she was like, no, it's actually like, it's what's driving this like industry forward. This is what's going to be our building blocks for what's going to happen. She knew what was going to be going on in this industry. She was a very grassroots person. She had been in it for a long time. And that, with just that concept, right, of this is so much more than Dre having a fun time smoking weed. You know, this is like, people rely on this, and people shouldn't be harmed because they want to smoke cannabis, which is a plant, which we have an endocannabinoid system to ingest. So what is the problem? You know what I mean? Like, where's the disconnect? And American Space Access kind of like married that whole idea for me.
Yeah.
It's the middle of the legislation too. Like all these things are happening. So like you kind of are changing the rules as you go along. You're like, this is what we're saying. Like this is what is going on because the feedback that we're giving.
Absolutely. I mean, we were taking a risk, right? Like just to call back out that raid training, like people who came to work for in cannabis at that point, we're taking a risk. People were walking in. There's some dude with a bunch of weed was walking in, and I was sitting in a room by myself with him. Like, not to say like that necessarily is inherently bad, but that is a risk, right? Like for both parties, you know, he doesn't know what I've got in my office, and he's just bringing in like his harvest, you know, and what's going to feed his family potentially. So like, like that is, it's taken like, that's better. It's better that it happens in like a dispensary setting than maybe happening in someone's garage or someone's like car, but it's still better now than it was. Yeah. You know, and seeing all that and using our voices at that time, even just taking that sacrifice and saying that there are people who want to work here. There are people who want to shop here. And then that want and that amount of people just kept growing. And now we are sitting here at your lovely dispensary with SheSellsWeed, talking to a woman business owner. You know, this is, it's come such a long way in 15 years.
So for those that don't know what raid training is, could you tell our audience what that is? Because we have a lot of listeners that are not California or younger, you know, and I'm sure they're like, what is this raid training? Because you mentioned
I have said it a few times. It's like, it's trauma, right? And like people need to know what we went through. So you would, like, it was just like, you know how you have like new hire training where they normally like maybe show you a video, maybe show you how to like do a drop, a cash drop, or try to show you how to do like something about the normal job, any job.
How to get the mop bucket.
How to get where the mop bucket exists, how to clock in, how to clock out, when to take your lunch break. During that training, it was like, how to do that, raid training. Then it's like just scheduled, right? And basically we told you that the second a feds come in, we had like one manager on staff that was going to handle And if you weren't that person, you sat down or you like stood there. You didn't do anything. You didn't say anything. You said like we had a little line for you to repeat, and it was like, I invoke my whatever right, and I will not be speaking until our lawyer's name is here. And people, that little thing was posted sometime somewhere. Like people like had to be reminded of like what to say if you got raided. And it was, you don't tell them your name. You don't tell them anything. Like we all had to have badges. We had like our name tags and stuff. So it was like, but you don't talk to them. Like you just sit there and like our lawyer will be there. And like that never happened to me. I never got raided, thankfully. When we did get shut down, it was being by letter, right? I was like, I'm pretty sure like the landlord of Green Solutions and the owner were friends. And so I think it was either a conversation or email or something. I'm not saying that it was friendly, but they knew each other.
Yeah. So
it wasn't like we didn't get like raided by the feds, but and also the federal government put the responsibility on the landlord to shut down the business, which is what happened for us. So, but no, I know people who went through raids, you know, like that was a very real thing.
Yeah. You say nothing. You shut the fuck up.
You shut the fuck up. Say nothing. Yeah.
Happens.
It was like, you ask for your lawyer and you don't say not one other thing. And that was, we're telling, you didn't have to be 21 to work in a dispensary at this point. You know,
you had to just be 18,
I don't think you did.
right?
I think you should have to be 18.
Yeah.
I think maybe at this point, or maybe, no, actually, I think I forget how old I am. I think I had just turned 21.
Okay.
I'm like, shit, am I really 36 years old? Oh my gosh. So you're talking to a 21-year-old, you know, like, hey, welcome to your first, like maybe one of your first like jobs or early jobs. And it's like, you might get arrested.
Yeah.
You need to know that you might go to jail. I remember we did a 420 party at Green Solutions. And now this is after, it's no longer Prop 15. We're at recreational times now. And we're doing a 420 party. And we're doing the gray area thing where we have a party bus parked just far enough from our entrance so we can have consumption in there. And from my understanding, we had told Sacramento PD, like it was supposedly sanctioned and all that. And I was taking my shift to run the bus. And we get a knock on the door and I'm thinking, and I'm like, my shift is also my turn to smoke, right? So I'm kind of talking to the customers, smoking a joint, and we hear a knock on the door and I think it's just another customer. It's the police department. I was like,
God.
Can you imagine? I'm like, I've got like the weed sweat, so I keep hitting your microphone. Thank you. I'm too animated for the microphone. I don't think I've ever been so scared in my life. I was like, there's that ray trading.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I was the person on site that if anybody had to like interact with somebody, I was like, just what do I was like, just ask for the lawyer and like wait for and go find the owner. Ask for the lawyer, go find the owner. Like, I'm the person like on the bus that needs to talk to this person. Like everyone else around me is patients, and everyone looked at me just, what? Why are the cops here?
Yeah.
And some guy had broken into a nearby business. And they had footage of him running down an alleyway near us, and he was just wondering if there was a guy with a red shirt on the bus, and there was not a guy. I was like, everyone has been in here with me for the past 15 minutes. He's like, all right, have fun. I was like, no way.
Oh my God. That was scary.
And I don't think at that point we were doing raid training. At that point it was like later on, and I was like,
it wasn't really a thought.
But then I was like, oh my God, I thought this wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
And it definitely happened. So that was a very normal part of
but see, like now it's like you do and you help, like people need the cameras, like you're more secure. The little neighboring businesses are like more secure because like a dispensary is there. It's a whole.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, we have overnight security at our dispensary, which means that basically now everybody on Main Street, has an overnight security guard. Because, I mean, he's going to report anything he sees.
He's not going to be like, oh, that bar on the street, I don't care.
I'm not getting paid for that.
What?
No he's
way.
going to report it. And so, and we've even had people on our community board be like, who's this man with the flashlight? And we're like, it's our overnight security guard.
That's who you want. That's funny. I mean, the security shops.
But that's a hella scary ass experience. Like I feel.
No, really though.
I feel that.
The raids are scary. When I used to have my farms, I mean, we'd bring trimmers on, and a lot of the trimmers are always like friends of friends or family members or whatever. And most of them, they'd never even seen that much weed in their entire lives.
Oh, yeah.
Their eyes get real big, blink, blink. You're like,
what are you thinking?
Welcome. Well, they're just like overwhelmed with it because they've
Mm-hmm.
never seen it. And then sometimes they get scared, but you'd have to sit them down and be like, okay, now look, if the cops come, just don't say anything. Just close your mouth. If they let you leave, they let you leave. Otherwise, we're going to sit down and we're just going to be quiet. And I remember a couple people, they were like, cops. And I was like, yeah, like, I mean, this is legal, but this is also illegal.
Yeah.
So we have to kind of deal with that. And they left. They said, not for me. Like, they thought this was like cool, but they were like, nope. They got in the car and left.
Yeah,
I was like, that's okay.
If you don't say anything, in theory, this is legal. But just because it's legal doesn't mean the cops might not come.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? They might not try to shake us down.
Well, there were certain counties that were really bad.
Yeah.
Like El Dorado County was
Sure.
notorious for going after total medical farms. I mean, I knew so many. There's horror stories of people growing medical, totally licensed medical, had their collectives, had their nonprofits.
Had those licenses like pinned up,
stapled on the fence, you know, and the feds would still come in and chop everything down and take everything.
And the thing is, even if they don't,
nothing
if you don't end up like having, which, you know, I hate to, not to get too political, but maybe depending on the color of your skin tone, depending on how far that goes through and how much you actually like, you still lost your crop, right?
Yeah.
Depending on how much like criminally that might affect you, but like even if it does or doesn't, depending on like the laws and your lawyer, but like you still just lost
everything.
You were growing that weed. That's where your money was, and now you have to deal with
and your patients at that time too. Because let's be fair, like if you were medical, like you had to have a connection to a farmer. Like you couldn't just go through the dude that's like slinging weed in your city because he could never be consistent or have enough
or necessarily safe.
Yeah, or safe. Yeah, because exactly. So most of these people work directly with farmers, and I mean, if the city came in or the state came in and chopped all that down, like it was just. It was done for everybody. It was such a different time than it is nowadays.
It is, and I mean,
now we have too much weed. Like, there's so much weed. Like, it's ridiculous.
Now, there's a lot of competition. A lot of people growing weed and stuff now.
Well, I have friends that come from other states over here, and they're like, "There's just so much weed here. Like, they're like, you guys barely finish joints.
And
like, you're like, oh, that one sucked. Like, just get a new one. You know, back over there, for where they come, like, that's all they had.
I remember going to Boston for a week for 420, and I was like, oh no, I got to smoke this for 7 days. Like this. Like, oh, look at this. And I was like, oh, no. I was like, you poor thing. You smoke this. Yeah. Sorry for all you East Coasters. Like, I think it's gotten better now. But, yeah.
I think it is with like New York and stuff come on. And I think New Jersey is. Ohio, I think, has come online. But and then Michigan, really, Michigan's like the big hub for like really good weed as far as like, and they're like not really full East Coast,
not
but like
that's
no.
This was a while ago. I was with Omura, so it was a while ago.
Yeah, but no, they've got a decent scene there now. But yeah, it's definitely it's a whole different time. Yeah. I mean, everywhere it's just crazy.
We went to Barcelona and did like and Amsterdam, but Barcelona and their little cafes and stuff, and that was a really nice experience. And their weed was pretty good too. Yeah.
It's more of like a coffee sit down, right? You have to stay in the facility. You're not allowed to leave. Are you allowed to leave with it, or do you have to?
You can leave with it.
Okay,
but you like it's do not. Like, I wouldn't smoke it out. Like
Yeah, they're not as friendly.
My rate rating comes back. I'm like, no, you don't want to get rated.
Especially in a foreign country.
Dude, I have friends like you know, if I'm flying within the States, I fly with like my legal. I know my TSA like that. I've been able to say, okay, I'm not going to get caught here.
Yeah.
But I've had friends that'll sometimes travel with. Like, oh, it's fine. And I'm like, for you, maybe. Like, I'm not. It's not worth the anxiety for me. I'll bring gummies. I'll put something. I like put them in like a vitamin something. I'm like, they're like, Dre, you're doing too much. I'm like, you haven't been through rate training.
Unrecognizable. They don't know what it is.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not taking no chance.
No, I agree. I see people, they'll post on their stories or whatever. They're in some country with stuff, and I mean, like with Puffco and everything, and I'm just like. It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Well, it was like weird too, going from the transition from it being Prop 215 to recreational, because then it became like, oh, everybody's out there telling what they're doing, and like you've been trained for years on like, don't tell anybody what you're doing. So you're like having this external crisis, and you're like, should I?
Yeah, you're trying to promote business. I want to promote my business, but I also don't want anyone to come and get me.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Yeah, it was like a whole coming out experience, to be like, all right, everybody, just so if you didn't know, I've been in marijuana for years now. I know. I love it. I have bongs. I have all the things. Like, if you were like, oh, we thought,
it's me. I do sell weed. Hey, Grandma. Oh my God, my grandma finally. Okay, Grandma. She's, much older. She's allowed to not have to have all of her wits about her, right?
Yeah.
But she finally stopped just asking me what I do again for a living instead of going, so like, how's cannabis? Like, marijuana. How's marijuana doing? Or whatever. Like, how's the, and I'm like, oh my God, she's like,
How's the marijuana?
She's accepted that part. Like, she's like, how's work? Her husband's like, how's work? I was selling marijuana. And I'm like, yes, grandma. It's not like, not a taboo for her to say the word anymore. I almost feel like she gets like a little like,
yeah.
you selling that marijuana?
You still selling drugs?
My granddaughter sells drugs now. I have to accept it.
I mean, she's a God-fearing woman, you know, so.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, God put marijuana on the planet, so.
yeah, don't forget me.
Tree of life, in my opinion.
You think you don't think she's heard the endocannabinoid system? Because she has.
No, it is. The senior community is interesting because they do have that around it, but then they take a lot of pills and like a lot of other like medicines, really
They
hard
also don't
things for their
necessarily eat
bodies.
healthy or hadn't eaten healthy when they were younger.
Yeah.
You know, I noticed that too. Like, absolutely.
Yeah, it is. But it's also the biggest supporters of the industry, to be honest. I mean,
there's
a lot of my customers are the senior. Yeah. Well, and you know what? Like they need it, you know?
Yeah.
So
I benefit the most.
I get to seeing people bring their friends and they're like, come on, Bill, just have a gummy, you know? And he's like, I have said no to weed. I don't, you know, and you're like, you can see the internal struggle, but then they eventually do it. And then they're like, I don't smoke it. I just eat the gummies. And you're like, okay, but it's like, it's hard for her.
We got grandma on the pills, so I was
tablets,
like, we can't get her to eat a gummy because it looks like candy. Like, she's not gonna take that seriously. So we got her these little pills, and so I know she took the first like set of pills I gave her. The second pill, now she just is straight up lying to me. She goes, "No, I'm taking them. I still have them." I'm like, "That's not how pills work. I gave them to you like a year ago." But she tried them. I know she tried them, and now she doesn't have the heart to tell me like, you know, that or she really does forget or whatever. I don't know. I've left it alone. But yeah, getting grandma to try it in a pill form and having that accessible for an elderly population, or like my grandmother, gives them the opportunity to not be as scared about it.
Yeah, I agree. It's what's nice to offer like a variety of things at the stores is that there's something for everybody there. If you want a little drop, you want some gummies, you want some chocolates, whatever, you want to drink, like there are so many ways for you to get the medicinal value out of the plant and not be, you know, fearing of it, you know.
So I have a question. So since we're talking about wellness and that part of it, how do you feel about topicals? Do you think?
I think they're great. I think that it's really important for the base ingredients to be a super formulated absorption. Personally, like there's certain fats and oils and things that just won't really go into your skin, but they work really well for minor aches and pains. They work really well for temporary things. They do not work well if you're wanting like a long-term therapeutic like usage. Yeah. And that's when I push people like at least onto some CBD because I'm like, you've got to reduce the inflammation internally to really get the pain relief, and you're not going to get that applying a topical. Now, you will, but the cost of these topicals that are super highly formulated, like CADS creams and things like that, he spent a lot of time really figuring out which oils and fats and things to mix together that is going to help penetrate deep into your skin and give that relief. But those things cost a lot of money. So it's like to get a jar, it's like you're going to spend a lot. And I mean, it's like $2-3 a rub down, you know, like it gets expensive, where it's like if you could take a CBD like capsule at like a 33 milligram kind of dosage, because CBD you always want to go a little bit higher than the THC. It doesn't really work at the micro level like THC does, in my opinion. But on a term, it's going to reduce the internal inflammation in your body, activate the endocannabinoid system, you know, and get your body to actually start healing itself within. And that's what's super special about it. And that's what I try to get people like that come in asking about topicals. Because that is like a stepping stone. I see it a lot. Like, well, maybe we'll just try a topical. But the thing is that it's not really doing it the way they want it to. So that's why I try to get them. We'll try a CBD gummy. Like, just try the gummy, because they're not going to have the anxiety. They're just going to feel probably groggy and maybe want to eat and go to bed. You know. So it's a chill high. It's a very chill high, and feel better the next day. I feel like the first time you do a good dose of CBD, you like wake up with like an afterglow effect, because it's like your body's just like oh, I feel good. Like there's no inflammation in the body.
Yeah.
And then we eat crap and, you know, your body fills up with inflammation. It's really crazy. Like peanuts can trigger inflammation in your body.
Yeah.
And it can cause all sorts of havocs in your body. It's weird. So even food can trigger it. So you're always kind of having to combat that. Anyway, sorry. You're gonna
I definitely asked because like, look, I'm on my own journey. So
yeah. Like you, I have ADHD. So I tend to like, if you want me to info dump on you, no problem.
I know you are, guys. Yeah. There have been times when I come to this dispensary to like do a quick check in with Jax, and then I'm like, shit, I'm late for dinner.
Are you calling me a chatty Cathy? Are you I'm sorry, I'm out here in the Delta. Nobody comes out here. Like, you know, I don't get to go to like the social engagement because I live out here as well in the Delta. So it's like an hour plus away from me, and I have a small family. So it's like I like to be home. Yeah. So yeah, when I see my favorite reps come through like you, I get all like, hey friend, you want to talk?
Hey, man, I love it. At least I can smoke her. I'm like, hey Jackson, we're gonna be here for a minute. Let's smoke some weed.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe that's what I should do. I should have some joints rolled up so when the reps come and I end up talking to
come
her.
here.
Yeah, come here. I got some weed for you. Yeah, exactly.
You just gotta know, and then you record it so
Yeah.
that we can preserve
Oh, you know, many times I bring people up here and to show them the studio, because they'll come in and they'll be like, "Yo, you and Mindy do the show here," and I'm like, "Yeah, you want to see?" And they're like, "Yeah." So they'll come up and see, and they'll sit down. They're like, "This is so cool." Like, we could just like talk. I'm like, man, it'd be cool to just turn the camera on and catch some of those conversations because I do get some really neat conversations with sales reps because they're all walks of life. People who sell weed are all walks of life. From very uptight, they're uptight, very business, preppy kind of people to your guy that's just like, look, man, here's the weed, dude.
Hey, bro.
If you like it, you like it.
Let's admit it, not many people have been doing sales or been in cannabis for a decade like I have.
Yeah.
Or at least sales tends to have a high turnaround in my experience.
Oh, yeah.
So, I think
for many reasons.
you can, it's a lot of people have been recently doing something else.
Yeah.
This is new to them or to some capacity new to them, which is something else I sometimes I trip on. I'm like, I don't really have much other, like, as far as my professional career, other than working in a couple shitty office jobs, I'm like, this is my experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have like, I came from this. No, I came from cannabis.
It always goes back.
At this point, I can't deny it anymore.
Yeah.
I can't be like lead with I have a philosophy or like I'm like, no, I'm a cannabis person.
Yeah, I agree. I'm the same. I just that's just who I am. Even if I think about doing something different, I'm like, well, I'll miss this though, and it really means a lot for me to do this. So
and it's very we're lucky. I think we're all very fortunate. I think a little bit of right time, right place, right?
Yeah.
Like we lived somewhere else.
I think it's the love though, to be honest with you. I think we're willing to endure a lot to like stay with it a lot. Like you said, PTSD from raid training.
Yeah.
Most people are willing to stay in an industry.
I've lost my job twice.
Yeah.
Not my fault. Just like, it's.
I think people get a bad rap for being like stoners, and they're like, "Oh, well, they're not as productive or whatever that is." And I always disprove that, but it's like you do.
I don't know who you're hanging out with, but you're hanging out with the wrong stoners.
It depends on the person, and like if you have the drive, if you you can be successful in any industry. You could be successful in this industry. You got to follow kind of what you're meant to do. And it'll unfold. It's like funny. I sometimes think about how I was a huge stoner in high school too, and like the kids probably thought like she's not going to amount to anything.
100%,
And I'm like, I'm down the street actually,
still doing it.
Still doing it. Doing more of it actually. I'm doing a lot of it.
100%, dude. It's having that like as in your pocket, like knowing that, like kind of like it does make me feel good.
It does.
Not overcoming stigma for sure.
Yeah, I agree for sure. Overcoming stigma. That's a good way to say it for sure.
We deserve to be proud.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna use that as your title for this episode. Overcoming stigma. That's a good one.
Not free training. Dre's drink.
Well, Dre, this has been a fantastic, fun conversation with you. I ask everybody if they've got a message for the world or like a statement that they want to give out to the world that people need to know from you.
I mean, like. Smoke weed, like it. By now, if I listen to this podcast, you know that there's an endocannabinoid system that exists. You should, if you're curious about it, I guarantee you that there is a way that it can benefit you.
Yeah.
And educate yourself and don't like. That whole idea that like stoners are not productive or don't feed into that. Don't like listen to that. Like don't let that define you either. Also, be lazy if you need to be. There are definitely like days of the week where I'm like, this is my lazy day. But like, and I smoke more than I might on a day where I'm productive. But find your journey with it and be confident in that.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I agree. Thank you again, like I said, for being on the show. And where could they find you? Do you do social?
I do, but I'm private, so I will look at your profile before but I do approve cool people that I think I know from the industry, or maybe
or if you got questions about becoming a sales rep, or maybe some key points, she might be able to help you in that direction. My
Instagram is it's grandpa_Dre.
Spell it?
Grandpa, like the word grand, like your grandma, grandpa.
Okay.
Yeah, grandpa _DRE Dre. And that's how you find me on Instagram. And then if you want to look me up on LinkedIn, my full name is Adriana. It's spelled ADREANNA. My last name is Hammond, HAMMOND.
Perfect. Yeah, and I'll put all that in the caption below as well. So, thank all of you guys for listening and watching us today. It's been a really fun episode. And remember, you can find us on Instagram, Spotify, Apple, here on YouTube as well if you're listening, watching us. And if you're listening, you're either on Apple or Spotify, or maybe one of the random podcast things that we have in the world. But you guys all have a great day, and thank you for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
See you next time.